Well, welcome back to Crossroads. If you haven't noticed, it's getting cold outside, and for Buck Simpkins from Marion Utilities, that means frozen pipes. He's here to tell us how you can keep your water running this winter. Welcome, Buck.
Thank you.
And I'm sure your job's getting a little picked up now that the temperatures are dropping.
Right, it's increased quite a bit.
Now, frozen pipes probably isn't your only thing. What kind of do you work with at Marion Utilities?
I'm the supervisor of our distribution department, and our distribution department is, once the water leaves the water plant, our crew is in charge of making sure it gets to your tap, make sure it gets, to your home. So we are in charge of water mains, fire hydrants, broken water mains, anything that's leaking, just maintaining the distribution system in the city of Marion.
So a lot of people worry about frozen pipes and they don't really know how to prevent it. What are some ways that we can go about making sure this problem doesn't happen to us this winter?
Probably the number one thing you could probably do is leave your water drip. When the temperature gets below freezing, just probably the simplest thing is let your water drip. And when I say let it drip, maybe the size of a pencil lead. You don't want it to really run hard, but you just don't want it to drip every few minutes, because you always want to keep a flow going. As long as there's a flow going, the water won't freeze. So just as long as you keep the water dripping, at a little steady rate, you should be okay with that. Some other things you might do is if you have your kitchen cabinet doors, if you open those up, those a lot of times kitchens are against an outside wall, and that's usually the pipes that freeze. So anytime you can leave those cabinets open, let the warm air get in there, that helps quite a bit. Just insulating pipes, making sure there's no cracks in the siding, or if you have a basement, make sure the basement windows aren't cracked, or there's no cold air coming through that might get on those pipes and freeze them.
Now, is it just the kitchen sink then that you should be worried about, or do you keep all the water running in different
I would probably
bathrooms?
keep anything that has plumbing running in an outside wall. An interior wall, you're probably okay. It's probably just mainly the outside walls where there could be, like I say, a crack in the siding, a crack in insulation, just letting that cold air get through and freeze that pipe.
Are there some kits that people can kind of have in hand in case it does happen?
In case your water freezes?
Yes.
No, not that I know of. Probably the best thing you can do, and we really stress this at Utilities, is to have an inside shutoff valve that works and you know where it's at. Because once that pipe does freeze and bust, you're going to want to be able to shut it off. And if you can't, then you've got a problem. That's when you call us in the middle of the night. Just over the weekend, we had several that had frozen last week. They thawed out over the weekend, and our call guy was out all weekend. If someone has an inside control valve that they know how to shut it off, they can do it themselves. So, because once a pipe freezes and busts, it doesn't mean it's going to leak. A lot of times they'll freeze, they'll bust, they'll stay frozen. Once they fall out, that's when they start spraying. So as long as you can have a good operating inside control valve, that's probably almost as big as letting the water drip. Because once it breaks, you want to be able to control it.
And are these valves in newer homes or are older homes?
They should be in all
most
homes.
affected?
They really should be in all homes. I mean, that's one of the things that we really stress. Because, it's one thing to have one. A lot of homes have them, but people just don't know where they're at. So you want to make sure you know where it's at, and you want to make sure it works. And that's probably a real biggie there, is just to make sure that you can control the water once a leak starts. And you never want to try to unthaw a pipe if you don't know how to control the water. I shouldn't say thaw a pipe, unless unless you can control the water. Because once you start that thawing process and it starts spraying, it's kind of too late. So you want to be able to control it. That's a biggie. Something that we also stress is your water meter. The water meter sits out by the curb, and those do freeze at times. So anytime we get snow cover on them, you want to leave that snow on them, because that snow insulates that pit and that meter, and it keeps that from freezing. Because we do get a lot of frozen meters during this time of year. The meters are in the ground, but a lot of times there might be cold air that gets in there, then freezes that meter, and then that's when we got to come out and thaw the meter out.
So let's say the pipes do freeze. What is the first step I should do?
Make sure you got an inside control valve, and make sure it works. And then if it's one underneath your kitchen cabinet, you can open up the cabinets, make sure that that may help it. It may come to the point you have to call a plumber out to thaw the pipe out. If it's in an area that is not real, that you don't use a lot, you may just let Mother Nature kind of warm back up, and it may thaw itself out.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen to a lot of people, but if you find yourself with frozen or busted pipes, here's the number for Marion Utilities, 664-2391, and you, Buck, or some of your friends may show up at your house to make sure the problem gets fixed. So thank you, Buck, for joining us.